OK, we're taking you live now to Sydney, where Opposition Leader Peter Dutton is speaking about the appointment of Australia's new Governor-General.
It's a tragic circumstance where an aid worker has lost her life in a very difficult war zone. Obviously, nobody wants to see conflict of any circumstance in the Middle East, but it is a reality. And our thoughts, our prayers and condolences obviously go out to Zomi's family and to her friends and to those who are there serving at the moment in harm's way, trying to provide support to people who are in a very difficult situation. Of course, Hamas continues to hold hostages, 40 people, and they should be released immediately so that a ceasefire can be entered into. And the attacks on the 7th of October should never be forgotten as acts of barbarity that shocked the world. And the consequences that we see where innocent people are losing their lives in the Middle East at the moment is as a direct result of Hamas's attacks on the 7th of October. We should never forget that, and we hope that, that those hostages can be returned as quickly as possible so that a ceasefire can be entered into. Very happy to take any questions.
Just on supermarkets, you tasked your colleagues Angus Taylor and David Goodall to look into a plan to break up the supermarkets and rather than cooperate with the Greens. What would this plan look like? So how do you square potentially divestment powers with the political parties' free market foundations?
Well, a couple of points. When we were in government, obviously we had legislation there in relation to energy companies because of the conduct that was going on within the energy sector. I believe very strongly that if there's market failure in a particular market and consumers are being adversely impacted, for example, in a particular geographic region where there was a concentration of Coles or Woolies stores to the exclusion of those other competitors and consumers were paying more by way of price, then I think in that circumstance you would look at whether or not that market domination would continue. You've got a situation now where Coles and Woolies have their own property development arms. They're purchasing blocks of land so that other competitors can't build within vicinity of their existing operations or their planned operations. So I think there's a question mark about the appropriateness of that behaviour. Ultimately, we've got consumers who are paying through the roof at the moment for items when they turn up to a checkout, and that's because of the government's energy policy, because of the decisions the government's made in 2 budgets which have forced up inflation. And inflation doesn't just impact your interest rates. Everybody knows that their mortgages at the moment are higher because of Labor's inflation rate, and that fuels the interest rate. But we also know that it impacts on small businesses, and we've seen today many small businesses who are adversely impacted by the high inflation rate. The core inflation rate in this country is higher than most other comparable nations. And the Reserve Bank Governor has pointed out that our problem here is homegrown, and the government continues to spend, they continue to tax, and whilst that's the case, the Reserve Bank will have a very tough time arriving at a decision to reduce interest rates. And I think families get that they're really suffering at the moment because of the decisions being made by the Albanese government. The government's making it harder, not easier for families, and I just don't think Australian families can afford 3 more years of a bad Labor government.
So when supermarkets say that they're forced to push up prices because of external factors such as energy prices, is that just a burden?
I think every business is experiencing higher input costs. That's the reality. The farmer who pays more for fertiliser because it's energy intensive in terms of manufacturing fertiliser, they're paying more for their cold room storage. The jam manufacturer is paying more for the glass jar. The truck driver is paying more for the truck to be on the road. All of that ultimately gets passed on to consumers.